Welcome to the Baynet's Countdown to November, a series of interviews with the candidates in the November 4th general election. I'm Dick Myers, your host, and with me for this segment is Steve Gelrin, who is an independent candidate for St. Mary's County Treasurer. His opponents are Democrat Kerry Swartz and Republican Christy Kelly. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We've known each other for a long
Appreciate
time.
it. We've been known you a long time.
Yeah. I wanted to, I hope you don't mind me taking up some of your time by telling a story, but I think there's a reason for the telling of the story, and it'll lead to my first question for you. I've been doing media off and on for quite a while, and there was a number of years in which I did daily talk radio. And we always interviewed the candidates during those segments. And there was an election, I can't remember which one, in which the longtime county treasurer, and this goes way back, this is before the current treasurer and before the treasurer, even before her, was running again for re-election. And he had been in office probably for 20 or 30 years, for almost forever. And he always ran unopposed. And then all of a sudden somebody ran against him out of the blue. And it kind of caught him by surprise, so all of a sudden he had an election, so he had to get out there and campaign. So I had him in for a 15-minute interview, and my first question to him is, well, what is your day-to-day job like? What do you do? And his response I'll never forget, and keep in mind this is a 15-minute interview I had ahead of me. His response was, well, I come into the courthouse, and I'm usually the first one there, so I open the door, and I get things ready for the girls. That's about it. I look at my watch, 14 minutes and 30 seconds. So my question to you is that about it?
Well, there's several things that the county treasurer now does, as people are aware, involved with the collection of taxes, both real estate and personal, as well as handling renewal of liquor license and dog license and dealing daily on and off with the public every day. I think that the most important thing is you have three people running who have never held office.
That's right.
Okay? And I think it's important that before they get in, they sit with the current administration and to find out what goes on daily, to answer your question. That's how I feel about it. I have sat there a few times with them so far.
Is it a pretty busy office?
It seems, well, at the time it wasn't. It seems our busiest time, as I understand it, is the end of the year, of course. And the June was the listing of all the taxes and everything. Right. And he seemed pretty efficient. I think there's some things that need to go forward to do, because you can mix the old technology with the new technology. If you want my opinion, I'd like to give you my opinion on that. And the one thing is, I do feel taxes should be paid online.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people want to do that.
I guess by the same token, a lot of people want to come in person and pay.
A lot of people do want to see you in person, which would give them the option, because a lot of people want that personal touch. With the growth that we've had down here, and I've lived here all my life, with the growth though, you have the technology now to be able to do that online, as well as paying taxes by credit card, possibly, depending on what the current county administrators or officials decide they want to do. Being in business all my life, there's a cost to that. Does the county want to pick that up?
I guess the flip side of that is that people will pay earlier by credit card than the county could gain access to the money earlier.
They could, and use that money and maybe offset whatever the cost of using a credit card machine may be, anywhere from 1.5%, whatever kind of deal they made, to 3%. If you're taking in $100 million worth of taxes per year, let's use that as a figure, and your cost is 3% on the machine, that's a lot of money. Can the county make that up by what you just suggested, by them paying it earlier? But I do like the personal touch, because I've done that all my life.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you. I think because we have three candidates, and this is a very unusual race, you being an independent, to have three people running for one position in the general election, and then it's even more unusual to have three newcomers. So I think I'd like to talk to you for a while about who Steve Gelrin is, what your background and experience is, and how all that could focus into being a benefit to you as county treasurer.
Well, I've lived in St. Mary's County all my life. I was raised here. My father was one of the first pharmacists here in the early 40s. I've seen it grow and prosper and become the community it is today. I've been fortunate enough to have a variety of experiences of owning my own business and dealing with the public and dealing with finances of a lot of businesses, as well as the current one that I'm involved with today, the Big Screen Store. As you know, treasurer, I think we talked about the ability to view the bills electronically or to have a friendly voice answering the phone. But I believe that the experience that I've had, and I've been in business since 1968, either selling, buying, setting up programs, handling finances, and I think that the treasurer's office has done a great job over the last 40 years and seen it grow from what, 20 million or $10 million worth of taxes up to 100 million today. The office does a good job. I've sat up there. I think people want to talk to somebody personally a lot of times, but you also have that youth that, you know, like we talked about, wants to pay electronically. But I think my business experience over the last 30 years, I had the first video store ever in Maryland. That was #1. My brothers and I had Showtime Deli years ago in this county that we still get asked about today. And the growth of the Big Screen Store has gone up to 12 to 14 stores now.
How'd you get involved with them?
I got involved with them back in 1968 through their father, who had a chain called Luskin's. The boys started the Big Screen stores in 1995, asked me to come back, which I did. They have grown that to be a major success today. They also had 5 stores in Atlanta, Georgia, which I controlled. I was asked to go down there, and I was there for 5 years. And I controlled the inventory, the financial end of it, the hiring and firing of salesmen, and dealing with the public. When they left that area, when I left that area, any major issues that came up, now I'm afar now, I'm back in Maryland. People are calling me from Atlanta, Georgia. You get 40 calls a day from people. Every one of those was handled successfully, and never having an issue. And that's, I think, one of my strong points is being able to deal with the public.
There's no job description for a treasurer, but I would think at least having maybe a working knowledge of accounting would help.
I think that would help somewhat, even though everything when I sat there is pressing buttons and is computerized. I'm sure the financial end does help, and accounting of some kind does help, because you're dealing with a lot of figures and you're dealing with a lot of people, which can be a plus or a minus.